Let's bring up our next storyteller, Claes.
You got it? Jag tror det. Tack Nestor jättemycket. Det var jättespännande för Nestor hittade mig på måndag och han tog mig hit. Ja hän sanoi, että mä en saa puhua suomea, että mun pitää puhua jotain muuta kieltä. Jag kan också snacka en flyende dansk. I'm just taking you to the sort of pre-immigration experience. I grew up in Finland and I was looking at you. When I was 5 years old, my parents thought it was embarrassing that I went to the fire station to watch the TV. So they brought the TV in. This was 1965 and little me was looking there. And that's sort of the America that started to come in front of my eyes, the high chaparral. Can you imagine Peyton Place? Can you imagine that my exposure to America was Peyton Place and I still came? Or you know, so essentially it was this movie screen and it was stepping into this movie. And I had no idea what was going on. So fast forward, actually I had a sister that went to California and she came, that was in 1963, she came home a hippie. And then when I was 17 I wanted to go and my parents said, no, your sister came home a hippie, you ain't going. Actually that was when I was 16, so I ran off with a circus. I became a magician, a fire eater, I ran off with a circus, that was my life. That was my diversity injection, and then I decided someday I'm gonna come there. And that day came in 1988, and it was a day like this. And I was totally unprepared. I'm coming out from JFK and I'm holding 2 suitcases. Like this was still the time when suitcases were real. They didn't have any rollers that you pull them. They were real and I was holding on to them. And I had seen America and I knew I'm not gonna let go. I'm walking out and what hits me is the heat. Because in Finland we have sun, but we don't have this freaking heat. And you can't even imagine that this could exist. And I'm like, okay, this is how Clint Eastwood felt in the Italo-Westerns. And I'm standing there. And I'm walking out, you know, in JFK, there's this, the shuttle bus will come and pick you up and drive you around. And I walk up to the shuttle bus, I'm holding my suitcases. I go in, it's pretty empty. There's 2 old ladies and they are speaking. And they're laughing. They're actually laughing and they're speaking about their grandchildren and I can't believe. And I look up and there's no snipers on the roof and I haven't yet heard a bullet. And you know, if you grow up watching Law and Order, you know the first 3 minutes there's a dead body. It's usually in a warehouse like this. It's behind those boxes you fill out this gruesome sexual murder. Whatever has happened, it's here and it happens. And if that's the only exposure to America, that's what you believe is going to hit you. And then when you come in, there's this funny thing, these Americans, like they believe that you come here to be like them. They couldn't be absolutely more wrong. You just come here because of some kind of freedom of being yourself. And then they look at you and they say, where's that accent from? And I say, oh, my accent is from America. You know, I grew up in Finland. I had no accent there, so something happened when I came here. They look at me like, okay. Or then it comes this first reading people completely wrong. Like I could not, in Finland where I came from, if you did not believe in free healthcare, and you did not believe in a tuition-less society, and you did not believe in retirement for everybody, you were called a fascist. That was the word for that. Like, those were people, we have heard about them in the 30s, but we have never met somebody. And then you come here and you actually walk in and somebody says you've been invited to them, they are Republicans, and you're like, oh my goodness, if I cut myself, they're just going to send me out and keep my finger. I mean, this is like what you're experiencing the first time, and you can't read it. It hits you when you can't read it. So I go to the barber shop, And I'm prepared for having a real Finnish discussion. And the Finnish discussion in the barber shop is actually, what's your niece doing? That's like something you can discuss. And they say, well, my niece is now studying nursing, and oh, isn't that wonderful? It's free tuition. So I say to this barber, okay, in Finland we have a country that's free tuition. And he's about to cut my ears off. I'm like holding on to them, but he goes like, why should I pay for a PhD's education? Hair grows, I cut. They are stinking rich, why should I pay for them? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I thought this was a nice conversation, I'm okay. So this is sort of the experience. So the next time I'm out there, when I come in 1996, I go up, I'm working at the University of Cincinnati, I go to pick up a faculty member. He's Mexican, I don't speak Spanish, he doesn't speak English, we're both engineering technology faculty, and you can imagine what happens. We have no language, so we start doing like this, and the next thing you know, I'm running a freaking red light. And I look in the rear window, and sure enough, there's the blinking white light. And I've been trained, I've looked at American road movies, so I open the door, go out and put my hands up. Because that's what I'm expecting that should be done in America. And I believe that the cop is going to throw me against the car, frisk me, put handcuffs on and take me away. I mean, that's the standard operating procedure. But instead he's standing there and he's about to drop. And suddenly we have this freezing moment, and I can't like really see his eyes. He has these Easy Rider glasses. I remember the posture. I remember the sweat on his forehead. He's sweating. I'm not, because I have been prepared for America. So he's like, get in the car. Okay, now I realize from this tone of the voice it's serious. I go in the car, close the door, open the window, put your hands on the steering wheel. And then comes the weird question, I've never heard this. Have you been drinking? And I say, officer, why do you ask? It's a physical property, it can be measured. And you have to understand, in Finland, you never volunteer anything about. Like, what happens in Finland in this system is, they stop you and the alcometer comes in and you blow. And they look at it and they say, you're fine, or they handcuff you or take you away. But there's a clear procedure, but this guy is like, having none of this. So I say, well, it's a physical property, it can be measured, so why don't you pull out your alcometer? I don't want to say anything, but because I could be misleading an officer. I don't know if I'm drunk, maybe because somebody gave me wine. And he looks at me and says, well, I would have to take you down to the station. I said, well, by all means, if you have to take me down to the station, that's what we got to do. And he looks at me and says, I would have to arrest you. I said, if that's what the procedure requires, that's what we got to do. And then he looks at me and says, it would take all night. I said, well, if we got to measure my alcohol level in my blood, it's obviously going to take some time, so I'm all game. And then he's like, okay. So, please, can I get your driver's license? And I pull out a Finnish driver's license, and I pull out the AAA translation that's about to expire in 3 days. And he looks at it, he rotates it literally twice and puts it back and says, go. Just go. And that's a story of me as a, what do you say? In Alcoholics Anonymous, what do they call it? Recovering immigrant. Thank you.